Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sensational Six. I have my five cohorts here, and we're here to bring you the most enlightenment that is touching each and every one of us. That our souls are here to share with you what we've learned and what we know. And I hope that you will be just as enriched as we are, because I'm enriched every week after the show. I learn something new from everybody here. So, without any further things to say, let's start with an opening prayer. So, everybody just get comfortable and take a deep breath and just know with me in this moment that there is no separation, that there is only one source, only one power in the universe, and that I am a divine expression of this power, as is everyone that I know, every person I touch, everything I see, everything I feel. I am within this divine energy that is spirit. And today I know that I am open and receptive to hear what I need to hear. I am open and receptive to everything that is now occurring. And I know that everyone that is present is enwrapped in this beautiful field of energy that we are now transmitting to you. And so, with so much gratitude in my heart, we open up Sensational Six, knowing that this is on our hearts. It's a divine urge that drives us forward to complete and to do what we're doing with our ministries. And so I release my word to the law, knowing that it's already done, it's already complete. And so join me in saying, and so it is. So, our topic this week, or a question that we always ask everyone, something different. It's always, we all come up with different questions. Some of them are fun, some are silly, and some are just really provocative. Well, today's is, what has been a challenge these last 6 months during COVID-19, or, stay at home, and how have you handled it? So, for me, geez, I've always, since I've come into this teaching, I came to really appreciate my downtime. So I never actually feel alone anymore, because I know that this spirit's riding within me right here. That's who I am. That's what's expressing in every moment. But staying at home, the first few weeks, it was kind of like, oh, this is an adventure. And then it got into months, and it got longer and longer and longer. And so then it became a challenge to figure out what to do to keep myself from, I miss my peeps. I need to be around my people. I need to be at the center. I want to have lunch with my friends. I want, all of these different emotions were going on within me. But I started finding that I have projects. I have a project all the time. All the time. I do puzzles. I've been playing pool a lot. I've just been, just finding new and better ways to do it. So at any one point in my house, you might see there's a project going on over here, and there's another one over there, and there's another one over there, and then my closet. Oh my God, a big one. I just have always have something going on, so that I never reach that point of feeling alone. But I guess I've learned through this teaching and through my awareness that I like my own company, and I like being around me. And so for me, that's what's the biggest difference, that I feel like I had kind of a one up on other people that were having a hard time, and not in a negative way, but I had reached this level of just feeling completely comfortable in my own presence, in my own company. And not that I don't miss my friends, and I can't wait to have breakfast with Gail. It's like, it's our thing. But it's okay, because I know that I am absolutely never alone, ever. So, without any more said, I'm passing it over to Reverend Gail.
Thank you, Cheryl. Great insight. So, what has been a challenge for me in the last 6 months? Well, this question, the word challenge here being a noun, is something that to me says something put me to the test. And I'm really fortunate and happy to say that I have not to date experienced what I would call a challenge or something that put me to the test. What I have experienced is the opportunity to be able to lean more deeply into my own understanding and acceptance of impermanence, or maybe better known as the existence of change. And this time for me has been a really powerful reminder that the only only the eternal presence and infinite love of spirit is unchanging. That's all that is unchanging. And all forms through which it expresses, including myself and everything I experience, are simply temporal. So now it's true that during this time period, I've made the choice not to travel to see my sister, and I really, really miss that. I've missed funerals. I've missed funeral gatherings and other ceremonies that just haven't been able to take place. And I've chosen not to enjoy group gatherings like yoga classes and have made the choice to limit my social gatherings. But what is also true is that I have been able to nurture a closeness with impermanence and understand how it affects my life, actually in a positive way. So there's always two sides to every coin, right? And leaning into impermanence also eases me through times of transition like this, and through times of loss and through times of pain. And so I'm really grateful that the last 6 months have taken me deeper into my understanding of impermanence and really into a better understanding of the world that I'm experiencing and the world that I find myself creating as I walk through. So today I speak of impermanence here because this intro question is about my experience. And my sharing this with you and choosing to embrace impermanence to describe my experience doesn't in any way diminish other equally valid experiences of our past 6 months. And many of those do evolve around loss and a sense of loneliness, like Cheryl talked about. And I'm sure we're going to discuss these experiences more as we move into our topic for today. But William, how about you? What have been your challenges?
Oh, thank you, Reverend Gail, and good morning, everyone who are viewing us. Uh, like you, Reverend Gail, I haven't had too much of loss or challenges. However, it allows me to see, like you said, 50% of any given situation I'm responsible for. Everything is 50-50. And so, as I see what's happening around, and as we have the opportunity to stay seated in our house, isolated, and allow to see the world still unfold and still moving, it allows me to see both sides of any given situation. Now, we've had a lot of challenges of with the fires and things like that in the Southern California. It just allows me to see again, like Reverend Gail was saying, that nothing is permanent. The only thing that is constant is change. And it's our perception of how we take in what we're observing and how we internalize it and then express it out. That is the internal working that each of us as individuals has to do. And so for myself, by recognizing my divinity, it allows me personally to kind of stand back a little bit, see what's happening. Instead of reacting from an emotional stance, I can see the spiritual truth of anything that's happening and then make choices on how I react or respond to any given situation. So ultimately, this 3/4 of a year or half a year that we've gone through has actually strengthened my spirituality of who and what I am. And I find that in that strength, I become the strength for someone else who may be having a challenge. In fact, actually this morning I was helping out my son and his best friend, and we were just having conversations about things that have happened. And I just find it's very wonderful to be able to be in that mindset of neutrality, not buying into the emotions, but stepping back and from a calm state of being, see the situation and raise others with their challenges. And so honestly, I have to say that this whole thing that's been happening, I look at it as a blessing because it's strengthened my spirituality, and I know that I have made differences in people around me. So, Reverend Dale, what are your insights?
Thank you, Reverend William and Reverend Gail as well. For I just like all of you, and I think many of us being having the call of being ministers, we're cut from this cloth that allows us to move through these types of things maybe in an easier way than others, because we're naturally introverted, and not introverted as people, but we're introspective, and so we know how to navigate inner territory using our spiritual tools and seeing the opportunities for us to grow and expand ourselves. So for me, it has been a blessing for me, because I tend to be somebody who's going a lot of places, and I have a lot of plates in the air, and taking a lot of my stuff off of my plate was really nice, because I got to catch up on sleep. And I find too that I've gone through a lot of phases with this quote unquote shutdown. First for me, the like Reverend Cheryl said, the center not being open anymore was a real grief moment for me. The first couple of weeks, I was like crying, and just really missing being with everybody and being in services, and the energy of that, and praying for people, and just the aliveness that we have in spiritual community. But after a couple of weeks of that, I really enjoyed not having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I found the good in it. So I guess where I land with all of this is this gratitude that I've really just been immersed in. There's so much I am grateful for that maybe I overlooked in my everyday life, that I'm so present to. And part of my spiritual practice is to do a daily gratitude journal. And I just find that my list goes for a couple of pages, because I'm grateful for the ease in which I've been able to continue serving even in the midst of this, and serve even more, since a lot of people need some extra support during this time of year. But there are things I do miss. I have a sister in Los Angeles that she's very really strict about having people in the house. So I haven't seen her for 7 months, and I've never in my adult life, I have never not visited LA in that long period of time. But it begs the question, all these things that I feel like I'm missing, like going out with friends and the church and all that. And it begs a question to me that asks me to say, do I really need that? And what's the attachment there? And is there another solution to the missing, and I let myself be with the missing of it all. And when I realize that when I miss something, it just means I love it so very much. And I'm so grateful I have so many things that I love doing. And then it allows me to move through the experience, because I think a lot of us have longings that we just have to be patient with. And I had told myself that the other day. I love to go out and eat, have meals with people, or go out for cocktails. It's one of my joys in life. And I was thinking, God, I'd really love to go have a cocktail with Reverend Cheryl tonight. And I thought, you know what, just be patient. I really had to remind myself, be patient, everything's unfolding. Yes, you'll go out again, just hang in there. And the other side of all of this to me, as well as this, and what I love what Reverend Lori says very oftentimes, that she holds lightly to everything. You got to hold lightly and not grasp. And I've been really into that idea lately, just to hold lightly to everything, and don't get caught up, and don't get anchored into what you think is the final outcome here. Just let it unfold, because when you do that, you allow for a greater possibility to come forth. And so for me, it's just really opening up to that understanding. And with opening up that channel of infinite possibilities, the creativity is really given an opportunity to flow, to direct. For what I have found for myself, it's just directing me, since these things aren't available for me, going into creativity, which allows me greater expression of who I am, that's nestled in my heart, that maybe I wasn't present to. So lots of interesting things during this journey, some challenging, some not so. And so that's my final word on that. And now I'm going to pass it over to Reverend Lori.
Well, like everybody else in my group, there's no surprise that this is, we've had all similar experiences, which is to be introspective, to look at like, what is here for me? And the first thing, when we first shut down, we were at the end of ministerial training. We were writing our theses, we were studying for our final, and it was such a blessing to have that time to just focus in. Um, so the beginning, it wasn't really even a much of a blip on my radar screen. And then as time went on, I don't know. I did a meditation this morning with Dr. James, our teacher, and the affirmation was, I am awake and aware of the intimacy of the universe. And there was something I just got so moved by that, that even though it would be easy to feel disconnected right now, that we're never disconnected. And in some ways, I've connected even more with people, and at the level of supporting one another. Our row at church, we have Zoom calls every week, and we figured out we can go to the zoo and be outside with masks on. Oh my God, we love that. And it means so much because we're not doing it as often as we used to. So we're so appreciative of that, and we've also figured out a way to have like two of our friends be part of our bubble so that we can connect with them, and we know that, we're trusting that everybody's doing best practices, and wearing masks and all of that, so that we can be together at times outside or in the pool or whatever it is. So finding wonderful ways to just work with what is, just work with what is. And having built that spiritual resilience, I know Reverend Dale's about to do a class on spiritual resilience. Well, having spent years building that, when something like this happens, you have all that resilience within you, and you have a spiritual practice that supports you through it. If anything, it's such an acknowledgement of the path that we've all been on, that everybody's going, all right, where's the good here? Where do I find the good? What is there for me to get out of even this? And what am I grateful for? And like Dale, gratitude has just been so front and center for me in this experience. Grateful that I have an amazing husband, that we could be locked together for 7 months and still love each other and still get along, that I have three pups who keep me endlessly amused and are total PIAs, in case, or PITs, pain in the tails. And so they're just fun, and I'm so grateful to have all that life and energy in the house, and I know not everybody has that. And so it just brings it home to remember to be grateful. So yeah, it's just all been good. Reverend Brad?
So the last 6 months for me, taking care of my 80-something-year-old parents. Oh, wait a minute, that's been going on for 3 years. Oh, that's right. Medical professionals saying I need to stay at home all the time while I do that. Okay, that's it. So, how can I add more to what my amazing colleagues have just shared? I'll share more about my little 6-month thing in a moment. So today's topic was we're never alone, and uh, uh, I'll stop right now and say I'm very thankful for all that I've learned as a leader and minister in Science of Mind, because whatever I'm going to share for the next handful of minutes has got to be totally changed because of the wisdom from each of these people. So I really hope throughout your week, as you're listening to this, you just replay it. Just pull it up. You can go to YouTube, and when you come to our channel of Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert, you click on the word videos, and all the videos that we've ever put online will be there. And they're usually in chronological order, so you can start with the most recent and go back to a Wednesday to hear all that we have said and shared. I'm going to read a quote from the Science Mind text. I got to look up to read it. No man walks life's road alone. There is ever another, and another is capitalized. There is ever another who walks with him. This is the inner self. We've also heard about that concept in that footprints in the sand. Remember where, I was walking and it was really getting hard, and it looked like there were just one set of footprints. Where were you, spirit or God? And that's where God says, I'm carrying you. I want to remind us of the basics of treatment. And I didn't mean to manipulate this whole call, but I put a very specific, the people that do the main talk during the day are the ones that put out the question for the panel. And right on cue because I know their amazingness. We spent almost twice as long on answering that question than normal because the richness that each of these teachers and leaders of metaphysics can share. So I thought, I know they're gonna give me wisdom, which they have, and how can we put it together in a clear steps that we can do now? So one is looking at treatment. So if those things about God is always present wherever we are, remember the first two steps of treatment. There's one life, that life is God. That life, i.e. God's life, Spirit's life, is my life. Period. So what do we think God is? From the energy that raises the grass, grows the grass, to the energy that moves the stars, to the presence of the healing cells in someone's body, to the presence of wisdom coming out of my fellow colleagues' mouths, right? That's an amazing presence that we will never be able to describe fully. And it's all right here in me. If that's in me, how do I still feel friggin' alone sometimes? Let me work on how we can shift that more often. You've heard a lot of times, remember the thing about I'm gonna cut a lemon up and I'm gonna chew a lemon right now and I slice it and I wedge it and we feel the sour in our mouth, and majority of people are feeling the sour in their mouth, and nobody has a lemon except my face and my background because everything's green and orange and yellow, but no one has a lemon. So how can just Joe Blow Brad with just a few words have your body salivate? Because the power of the one mind, the power of the law, the power of what our history has been, and how we understand how life works, how the word works, and our experience with it. I'm going to ask you to do take some deep breaths right now. We're going to do 2 in a row and just kind of follow me. Ready? So if you need to close your eyes, do that. Take a deep, slow breath. And one more. And what's going on for you now? I just gave us a gentle instruction of 2 things we normally do unconsciously, and now we did it consciously. And some of us a lot, and some of us at least 2 or 3 or 4% felt this. Those of you who've been around me as students or clients, where's my hands relationship to my camera? Just that. If I'm feeling more of, it kind of makes it difficult to be alone. Same way as if I'm gonna smile, I'm gonna be so angry with you and I hate you and I'm so ticked off at everything that you're doing. It just doesn't work, right? So we've have enough history as all of us are practicing religious scientists and experienced metaphysicians, not just on the panel, but all of you listening. We can do that. So how it shows up for my last 6 months, I love my parents. We're friends, not close friends. And I'll admit here, years ago, when I was married, which was years ago, we all always realized, when we visit Brad's parents, we're probably going to spend maximum 3 nights because that's just the most we really want to do and need to do. And that worked. And we communicated other ways of doing other things. And once in a while it'd be longer or we'd go on a vacation with them. So you're caregiving to people that are mentally and physically diminishing. So your participation support for them is more all the time. And it took a long time, but I'm going to be the first to admit for myself, I know I am one of the most conscientiously loving and kind people I know. And I've worked really hard for decades also to improve my intuition. So You know, I'm sitting here in my garage office this morning, and I'm not sure if I heard it or I felt it, but my mom's Parkinson's engaged her throat, so she had a little cough up, spit up kind of exercise. And so my dad, I go in there, my dad's already helping her best he can. So I go in there to help. So I know I'm really good at that. And doing it 24/7, I'm still okay with admitting that I haven't passed over from this life to whatever heavenly life or whatever is next for me. And in this life, I'm a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in the physical world. And sometimes it takes more than but when I do that, even now when I just did it, in my mind was taking care of my mom, who's more physically diminished than my dad. And I felt okay with doing it. And I felt more energy to do it. And I felt less alone. And I felt like it's less me and only me. You know, the aloneness in this experience, we've all shared, and you've heard a lot of people share, and you're sharing with each other's, hopefully, how you're doing Zooms and talking with neighbors and that kind of stuff. And it's still not what it was 8 months ago, right? I mean, we still have to consciously think of, okay, if I'm going out to dinner with a friend, then I'm the one that drives by the restaurant to see if the outside dining is in the shade, not with the setting sun, and maybe has misters, or how safe and structured does it look? Who would have thought we'd been doing that a year ago, right? That before we go out to go to a place to eat that we just find on Yelp, we just go. But now we need to be a little more conscious and present with those activities for the purpose of connection. We're designed, I used to say for years, it's not really appropriate, but I used to say, I don't think we're supposed to do anything but go to the bathroom or take a poop alone. Everything else, with 7.5 billion people on the planet, everything is supposed to be done together. So I was never one of those guys who said, I'm going to do it myself. I'd scare my wife in the car and roll down the window so I'd ask somebody for directions, because I don't care. I just want to get to the party. I don't care who I ask for directions. So I was always a community kind of person. I remember the vision for my wedding at the time. It's funny, I mentioned my marriage a few times this call. Our wedding vision was community, and we built community during the 5-hour wedding we had, and doing that together. So I get that there's different levels of loneliness, whether it's how do we just have a meal with someone, a friend, or there are some of us that are feeling lonely when a loved one is next to us in bed. So from what we share every morning at 10 o'clock, there's ways to be connected and feel more peace, and not just connect with your fellow participants in this amazing spiritual community called Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert, but to connect with the infinite that's already within you. Whether it's with a breath or something tangible like 2 hours of meditation, and then you go back to work at home. A friend of mine, a dear friend and mentor, died recently. And I specifically use the word die because I don't want us to be afraid of it. I get in our philosophy, we use transition because we're talking about, we're transitioning from this experience to another experience because we believe in the immortality of life, right? The essence of Brad was always here and is here now. There's going to be something. I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about what it was before and what it was next. I'm too busy doing this right here. But I know I'm immortal. And though I can feel the immortality of my friend and mentor and prayer partner, I'm going to mention it was Dr. Kathleen Lenover from Denver, Colorado. She was always a gracious presence. And we came together as friends looking for new restaurants in downtown Denver. And then we were prayer partners off and on. And we'd also would just create space for the other to share and then ask the other, what'd you hear me saying? And then in the last couple of years for me, I asked her to just be a mentor once in a while, and we just do a call. And I'm going to highlight her life. I remember she could listen so intensely, and she'd say, okay. And she'd ask me a question that would just friggin' floor me. That I can feel the depthness of it. And I would just have to stop the call because she was so in tune with what was going on for me and she asked. So I wanted to kind of recognize her life here, but also even to recognize, I don't know even when I saw her last. I guess I saw her at Christmas time when I was in Denver. And before that was probably a year before that, and a few phone calls in between. But I can feel the missing her and that unique sense of aloneness when someone has physically passed, right? So I just want to bring that and recognize that again, through our oneness with life, whether they're physically here or not, or whether it's our spouse, or whether we're missing that cubicle we used to go to, or that restaurant, through that infinite connection, we can always feel one and never feel alone. And I'm sure one of my amazing colleagues is just chomping at the bit to share something insightful, loving, powerful, and amazing.
So Brad, thank you so much for highlighting our topic and really setting the stage and the foundation for a lot to come through all of us. And our audience, we would love to hear from you. What questions around this topic? We are never alone. Living life together. Can we expand on for you today? Whatever you think of, please put it in the chat and we will pose it to these 6 amazing ministers. So as Brad was preparing us for today's talk, he had several questions that he thought we could expand on. So I'm going to throw one of them out to our group. And that's, with all of this change that we're talking about, many of us talked about impermanence and change. What about our spiritual practices? What about our self-nurturing activities? Do any of those need an upgrade? My friends, what do you think?
I have something to say. What I found is that I have a lot more time to spend with my spiritual practices, and I have even when it was 120 degrees here, I would be outside, at least for 20 to 30 minutes because I love to meditate when I'm outdoors. I just love that connection with nature. And one of the things that I found was that I just stopped and breathed and look and started experiencing everything that's going on in my backyard. It's just it's crazy how much goes on, how much activity. This bug flies there, the hummingbirds, the birds just coming in and out. I have a rabbit, and all of these other things that I had never really paid attention to. And I realized that by just slowing down and spending so much time alone, it really opened me up more to the exquisite beauty that is spirit. It just makes my heart sing with joy. I mean, my little spirit inside is dancing down the road on happy feet, because it just makes my connection to the whole of all things just opened up so much more than it had before. I mean, I always did my spiritual practice and it got me in the right frame of mind and everything, but this has brought me to a different level of experiencing what is my spiritual practice. And I love that. That is one aspect. There's a silver lining right there, a silver lining of all this that's going on. And I always try to look for the good. So now somebody else was going to come up next. Lori?
That's
All right.
me. I'm
Reverend
next.
Lori.
I'm almost could just repeat exactly what you said, Reverend Cheryl. I put some bird feeders out in my backyard, some hummingbird feeders. I have one hummingbird. He spends all day here on a specific branch. I was going to trim that bush, and I'm like, well, can't trim that branch. That's his or hers. I'm not sure. And I'm just noticing like my spiritual practice has deepened through all this. How could it not? I mean, we have so much more spaciousness in a lot of ways. I'm like Dale. She mentioned, busy, 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 plates in the air. That's my natural kind of tendency. So this is helping me to create a new tendency, one of being very deliberate with my life and really making sure I get my spiritual practice locked in. And I feel like I don't want to say needed it more, but desired it more. I've desired to be in treatment more. Um, there's just so much to know and to be right now. And I'm so committed to knowing and being it. So that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to pass to Reverend Dale. I know she's got something to add.
Thank you, Reverend Lori. So I'm going to add, and I might even do a little segue or a detour or redirect into something I think a lot of people might be reacting to from what we're talking about here, because we've all had a lot of years, maybe decades, to hone in on this consciousness that we have, where we can pop right into that oneness and that mind of God, and that place where we know we're not separated from anybody or anything. But I know there's a lot of people there when we talk like this, they don't get it. There's no reference point. They're not practiced at it. And so you're the people I want to speak to right now. And in this journey to developing our consciousness, to spiritualize it so that when life does what it does and we may be challenged, we have those tools like Reverend Lori talked about, where we have that spiritual resilience because we have our go-tos that allow us to kind of see from a broader viewpoint. And something I can tell you that we all probably tune into is the idea of love. And if you're really not sure how to navigate through loneliness, and you can't get over or seem to traverse the territory, I need people physically in my life and I don't know how to get through that, go to love. Because just standing in the energy of love, and this is a spiritual practice, just put your hands on your heart, close your eyes, and just feel love. If you need to conjure up the feeling of love, think of something that brings you love, whether it's a person or an animal or a part of your life where you really felt immense love. Go there and allow that love to just grow and radiate. And love is just such an expansive energy. And when we allow ourselves to steep in it, things change for the better for us. Loneliness dissipates, and we can kind of move into that place that we all spoke to this morning about, that oneness factor, that just knowing and that feeling state that all of us are able to move into, where we can be separated from people physically, but we know we're all connected. And so we don't really experience deep loneliness because we know better. We know that we're always connected at all times. So I just want to give you that exercise to use, because I get what it's like to not know what we're talking about. If you don't know what it feels like to know that we are all one, start with love and let it grow from there. And now I'm going to pass it off to Reverend Gail.
Thank you, Reverend Dale. And I love that. Start with love. And I just want to add on to that a little bit. So starting with love and then adding some action to it, for me, really makes a difference. And before I jump into that, I do want to share that we had a great comment while Reverend Brad was introducing our topic. And one of our favorite listeners said, "I am loving how Reverend Brad is recognizing God." And that's really what we're here for. So wonderful comment and very appropriate, Brad. So my spiritual practice, taking action from love, I've really come to believe that everything I do is a spiritual practice. I no longer delineate my meditation time, my yoga practice, my reading, anything specific as my spiritual practice, as I once did when I first started out in these teachings. And I feel like my spiritual practice is really how I show up. And as far as an upgrade, I'm kind of desiring to upgrade myself all the time, because I know I'm a work in progress and I'm continually new and I'm always a different person. So what does that look like for me? Well, first, it's this piece, the emotion, listening to my heart and allowing what it wants to experience. For example, I recently completed a weekend-long Sattva Kriya meditation. So right now, that practice is filling my heart. And the opportunity to have that initiation experience is what drew me to it. My heart drew me to it. Upgrading also involves asking myself the question, was I my best in that situation? And if the answer is no, or if not, what does a better version of me look like? And when I lose something or I lose someone really dear to me, instead of fighting against the loss, I instead define what merit I value in this situation or what merit I valued in this person. And I try to express more of that as myself. So I can give you a current example of this. When my father-in-law recently transitioned, I honor him and my feelings of grief and my outward expressions of mourning by trying to be more of what he was. And that word for me is kindness. And I contribute now to hurricane recovery efforts because when my daughter's family home was destroyed by Hurricane Harvey several years ago, my father-in-law and his wife generously gave them money to help them rebuild their home. So I can now continue this virtuous act and do this. This is an action to honor his life. So I love to follow the guidance of my heart and then also add some action steps to it. Who's going to jump in next? Okay, so I think we'll jump into Brad's next question. I think we're ready. Oh, William, are you going to jump in?
Well, I was just going to add, and sorry if I'm a little bit quiet, but I'm working off my cell phone, so I don't have the wherewithal, like on a computer, to be able to read text and say, "Oh, I want to be next," and type it so that our other panelists will see who wants to go in order. So I'm just patiently being nice and quiet, but it truly is wonderful to see the diversity of spirit in action through the six of us. Just and the spiritual practice that I have is in line with what every one of my cohorts have been talking about, and I love to see the natural unfoldment of just life. It that is a great way to center yourself. If things are going chaotic in my life, I just all I need to do is just take a walk and just get out in nature and like Reverend Lori was saying about the hummingbird, just to see the hummingbird. Or you know what? When I walk in the evening, and this just came to me, I love to watch the bats. Right at dusk, when the sun is going behind the mountains and you can still see up in the sky, and I just love to find that first one, just like the star in the sky at night, to see that first star. I love to see the first bat of the evening, and that's a great analogy of spirituality in action. And stay with me on this. A bat doesn't really see, but it uses echolocation to be able to find its way. That echolocation is the spirituality, is the spirit expressing in yourself. So sometimes if you can't see your path, just allow that echolocation, that spirit within you, be nice and quiet, ears, hearts open, and just allow life to unfold. And you will find more times than not that where you thought you didn't have an answer or a way out or the next step, you will find it will just come to you so easily. And then when you find that it comes so easily, find yourself now at peace. And in that peace, you are now even that much more open and receptive to allow life to happen for you because it happens through you. So I love the analogies, and I love the being in nature and what everyone's talked about here. It's just wonderful to be around this and to have that openness and that heart to be able to see with different eyes. And that's what this is all about, is live your life. We're not asking, you don't need to change who you are. You need to open up to who you are. Okay, write that down. I've got to write that down for my book. I'm going to be like Dr. Joe. But just like Dr. Joe says, all life is nothing but one continuous prayer. And when you realize that, regardless of what seems to be a challenge in your life, when you come from that standpoint, it will allow you to see things from a neutral point, which allows you to see and have insights where otherwise you may not have. And I do know that we are getting close to our end. So, Reverend Gail, are there any questions or anything you'd like to add? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. William, I loved you said seeing with different eyes. And one of our beloved audience members said this. One of the things I heard recently was that social distancing is a new form of intimacy, of caring for one another. Wow. Talk about seeing with different eyes. Reverend Dale, do you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, I'm going to take this to a place where we come in because I think most of my beloved brothers and sisters here are getting lots of calls from people who just are reaching out because they're just in a place of hurt. And I was speaking with somebody yesterday and I did prayer work, and it's like what we bring to you guys is a chance to see things through different eyes, to be able to see the truth and to just move yourself into a whole new way of seeing what you're walking through. And we are all here for you. I'm putting a plug in for all of us, and not just our ministers that are here, but all of our practitioners. We are here for you whenever you need it. And you can just contact our office if you would like to speak with a minister or a practitioner. It's something we do out of love. We love to listen to you and pray for you and watch things transform for you. And I mean, that's what we're all about in Science of Mind, is shifting consciousness, shifting energy, so that you can move in a direction where you can connect with your divinity and allow your life to turn into a better direction. So call on us. We would love to hear from you. You don't need to suffer. You don't need to feel alone at all. We're always here. So we're just a phone call away. And I want to just remind you about that in case you have forgotten. And I think Reverend Cheryl, you wanted to say something?
Yes. And not to take away from what others, but one of the questions that was that Brad put forth, beautiful questions, by the way, Brad, great job, was what's important in the forefront of your mind or your life right now? And it takes me to a place where one time I said in a class with Dale, Reverend Dale, that she was just Dale then, but Reverend Dale now. But I said, I've been walking through a dark night of the soul. And she said, no, you can't walk through a dark night of the soul. You can walk through a dark night of the mind. So if your mind is running around, that little monkey mind or that little tyrant in your head, is like I like to think of it, is running around and saying, I'm alone, I'm this, I'm that, and all that, then you just need to step back and realize that that's coming from here. It's not coming from here. And if you stay in this heart space and stop, letting your mind run rampant around what's going on, I don't watch the news because it makes me happier. I just find myself much happier by not listening to all of the dialogue that's going on. And I find myself able to stay in that centered space a lot easier. And so sometimes if you're feeling alone, is it up here or is it down here? Ask yourself that and start looking at what is playing on this movie screen in front of your mind, that's coming from your mind, and then just step away and decide, let's just stop for a minute and step back. What am I feeling in here? And it's so powerful. It really helps you a lot to do that. So thank you guys for letting me show up here.
Well, I suppose it's about that time that we start wrapping this session up. And I tell you what, Brad, thank you so very much. What a wonderful topic. And just the insight that every one of us has had has given me such words of wisdom. And I'm sure that they've given words of wisdom to you as well as listeners. So as we start to close this session out, I'd like to go over a few announcements, and then I will do a closing prayer for us. So just to let you know, Thursday, tomorrow, Reverend Laura is going to have a special guest, and she's going to go over having conversations with a special guest. Then on Friday, oh boy, get ready for this. Dr. Joe is back, everyone, and he is going to be interviewed. And there's going to be some questions and insights that words of wisdom he's going to be able to offer to us and share with us. That's a day you can't miss. And guess what? What time is it? 10 o'clock. Oh, I just love that. So every one of us are a 10, not an 8.5, but a 10. We're all 10s. Then on Saturday's our meditation day. Every day on Saturday, 10 o'clock is wonderful. Various types of forms of meditation, but they are all designed to help get you centered, especially in this time. It just allows you to open up your heart, and it's a wonderful way to start a Saturday and to continue your weekend. Then on Sunday, of course, we always have our Sunday service again with Reverend Charles at the helm. Boy, I tell you what, he's been hitting home runs these past few weeks, especially for myself. I'm just loving it. Everything has just been top notch. And I just am looking forward to what he has to say this coming Sunday. Then on Monday, we have conversations with Reverend Charles. And then on, let's see here. Oh, I apologize. Do not forget, after Sunday service, we have our prayer rooms. If any of you who are watching need that time of prayer and miss that 1-minute miracles that we did after services when we're able to meet on Sundays, guess what? You are able to do it. All you need to do is just phone in and Zoom in, and you will be able to get that minute miracle from one of our wonderful staff ministers or practitioners. It is definitely a way to start off the week. So do not forget that we do that after Sunday service. Mondays with conversations with Reverend Charles, I said. Then on Tuesdays, again, the continuing series with Reverend Charles and Japhon, talking about the insights and wisdoms that they have to help guide you through this unprecedented time of change. Now, then also on, we have our social 8s and our power 8. That is also on Wednesday. No, social 8 is on Wednesday. Can I get a thumbs up, Gail? Okay, I've got it all screwed up. But anyway, you know what?
Power of 8 is on Wednesday, William, and Social 8, which is you and I, is on Thursday.
It's funny because I was thinking power of 8, but I said social 8. So the mind and the mouth don't always work with me, but I tell you what, the heart's always working. I love that. And then also, thank you everyone for watching our Wednesday show here. And at this time, I'd like for you to notice that donate button down below. But I also like to phone in my tithes and my donations. So if you can't find that donate button for whatever reason, do not stress about it. All you have to do is dial 760-346-4649, and you can actually get a hold of someone and be able to leave whatever type of donation you would love to. And believe me, everything is greatly appreciated. Now, at this time, before I do my prayer, I'd like to open this up to Dale and allow her to elaborate on what she needs to talk about. So, Reverend Dale.
Thank you, Reverend William. Two things. First, Reverend Lori's husband is going to be joining Reverend Charles on Monday. Lori, just tell us a little bit about your husband's history. I don't know all the amazing things he's done, but please chime in.
Well, obviously, I think he's pretty amazing, but beyond me, he has interviewed just dozens and dozens and dozens of famous musicians over the years. That's what he did for a living. He produced shows for airlines, and everyone from Rosemary Clooney to Barry Manilow to Ringo Starr. So he has just years worth of interesting stories and perspective just on life. So definitely check out his conversation with Reverend Charles on Monday. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
You left out that he's got the most amazing personality as well, but I just said it. So you've got to tune in. It's going to be so fun. Also, I want to tell everybody that Reverend Laurel will be interviewing Ginny Weissman, who is our pet ministry maven. It's her baby, and she's going to be talking a lot about her history, and she's got an amazing history. She used to be a publisher. She's written a couple books. I think she wrote a book about the Dick Van Dyke Show. So you're going to want to tune in and hear all about what Ginny has done in her lifetime and what she's currently doing. She's just quite an innovative woman. I just wanted to plug my class that begins on October 6th. It'll be 6 weeks, Tuesdays from 2 to 4 p.m. It's all about spiritual resiliency. And now's the time to really get ourselves clear, hone in some good tools so that we can walk through life in a way where we can manage anything that comes up and do so with an open mind, an open heart, and spiritual strength. So join me. You can either go through the website. There's an informational flyer that's on that rolling banner, or you can just email me at revdaleo@gmail.com and I'll give you all the information. So I'm going to turn it back over to Reverend William because I think he is going to bless us into the rest of our day.
Oh, thank you so very much. And yes, now is a time that we go out into the world and just so center yourself, allow yourself to rest in that seat or however it is that you find yourself to be able to be centered. And as I start this, I recognize that there's only one power in this universe. That's the power of love. That is spirit in action. I recognize I am one with that power. I am the expression of that love. And so in that recognition, I state the truth right here and right now that all life is nothing less than spirit acting upon itself. The insights that were revealed today, instructions on how to live life in a more fulfilling and beautiful way, all were heard through loving ears. My heart and mind are open to all ideas that express love and compassion. I allow myself to see life unfold perfectly, knowing that all life is nothing less than spirit acting. And in that knowing, I'm filled with peace and harmony. And in that peace, my heart is open up with joy. And in that joy comes gratitude for this moment right here and right now. It allows me to live life from new eyes and new perspective. And in that joy of life, it allows me to express that joy in physical form, allowing others to see the beauty and joy of nothing less than spirit acting upon itself. And so with great gratitude, I release this word as law right here and right now, knowing it is already done. Before the words are spoken, it is already done. And together we say, and so it is.